one of the things that I want to do today is I don't think there's an easy answer to how to distill this down in 15 seconds or less, but I want to get people started. So maybe what we could do is talk about what are some of the really broad patterns here. I think that respect for rights comes up. We've said for human rights, for civil rights, that's a really big category. So rights. So what else? Looking at this list.
Accountability is a big one.
Do folks agree?
Yeah, definitely.
So accountability.
Non-violence, and that's probably our most important message, that we are non-violent.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really important message, but I think there's a bigger thing that you could look at there as well. When we talk about like stuff like people over profit, and we talk about taking responsibility for our own future, I think, or we talk about changing the narrative and making people more aware. I think one of the things that, one of the main messages that we want to bring is, we are you, and we hurt, and we're really angry about it. So maybe one of these could be, I guess unity. Does that make sense to folks?
That could be a dangerous proposition, though, because contained within the unity argument is the very argument for us and versus them, which I think which has the potential to be used against us.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could speak on that, I think that there's too often that the politicians for so many years have characterized the whole country as this big happy family, and they always use this us to refer to everyone, this 1% and this 99, and I think that what this movement has done is it's cleaved it right down the middle, and it's not just to galvanize people, it's to say that 1% of the population has been benefiting at the expense of the other 99, and I kind of like that language. I like how it's basically just set down a standard of how to talk about class in this country.
And that's a very good point. So maybe one of these could be simply we are the 99%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I add
And getting rid of
something to that?
left and right and
Yes.
I was just going to say, you said unity, and I was like, yeah, unity. And then when you bring this up, I'm thinking, this is how the right gets your average person, your average, like your 99%er to vote, because they're thinking, I don't want to pay higher taxes. I don't want to pay higher taxes. So they go and vote in that direction, and often against their own self-interest. And so, yeah, I think you're right. If we say there is this 1%, or actually it's this 0.1%, and then there is the rest of us, we kind of need to keep that in mind as we go and continue. And we need to be as inclusive of more and more 99%ers and get them to wake up like, hello, you're one of us. You are not a 0.1%er.
Right.
Inclusive, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, inclusive.
Respect for each other's struggles and differences.
So I'm going to put up here, we are the 99%, but I think that the concerns that people have raised, that's something to definitely keep in mind. Is that all right with folks?
Yeah.
I think a lot of you I just want to throw out here, one way to think about this is, what future do you see if things don't change? What future do you see for yourself, for your family, for the people you love, for the people in the community, if things don't change and stay the way they are and stay on the same track? Does that resonate in any way?
I would say that if things don't change, we're headed for a much more totalitarian society, or a much more oligarchic plutocracy, perhaps.
I'm actually worried that if things continue the way they are, it won't be necessarily that, but that some demagogue is going to go lead the unemployed to destroy capitalism.
How does that fit with kind of the dominant narrative about, national values and what Americans should be able to achieve?
I think you want to speak to people's emotions, because I think that what we're describing here is very much a part of human nature, and I think that using an argument that we all are one, is something that goes very, very contrary to most people's intuition. And so I think that you don't necessarily, we may not believe it in a very existential level, but I think that we have to sort of in many ways co-opt that us versus them thinking in our messaging. And really, I think that the key is not necessarily appealing to people's intellect or their reason, but appealing to their emotions instead.
So one of the things, so let's broaden this out a little bit. So at the core of the 99% message is this idea of income inequality. What does income if you break that down, what does income inequality mean for someone?
For me, it means I haven't seen a doctor since high school.
Okay.
It means that no matter what you need, no matter what expense, on this end of the spectrum, economics right now is just an injustice to everyone. I mean, nobody's really happy with this system.
Let's be a little more specific.
I mean, not that
Yeah. It means that you don't necessarily have an opportunity that everybody else has.
Right.
I think now that Mark has broken the C word and used class, really,
Whoa.
the 99% really is a statement of class consciousness. And if we make it really about income equality, and we say more people have more money than other people or whatever, you put yourself out there to, people work hard for that money, and that's what the large majority of people who haven't joined this movement believe, that those people deserve that money. And what we really need to speak to is the fact that we have two classes in this country. We have classes of people who produce things. We have class of people who own the means of production. And no matter how hard you work, unless you take ownership of the means of production, you're always going to be at the whim of those people who own that. So that is what the 99% are. They're those people who work to produce things. And, it seems like that is a more clear way of I've already talked to people about the income equality, and what you get is, we worked hard all our lives, we went to school, we paid off our college debts, so.
Yeah.
I don't think it's only people who work to produce things. I think it's also people who don't have jobs or the ability to work. Because how high is the unemployment rate right now? Like, how high is the homelessness rate? We're all.
In New Hampshire, it's
during-
5.6. 5.3.
I mean, there must have been over 150 homeless people in Manchester right now.
But I mean, that doesn't include people that are vastly underemployed or people that were working for a contract, and so it doesn't
It also
include a lot.
doesn't count the people who have given up looking for jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
So the number is actually much higher.
Right. Mark, you were going to say something?
Just about the narrative, I think that sometimes you want to keep in mind if you don't want to seem like an outsider, then speak an American language. In this country, you're supposed to get what you put in, and it's like the basis of classical economics too, like marginal productivity theory, where the income distribution is set and determined by differential contributions to input. And so whoever produces more, whoever gets more, it's a relationship there. And I think that, breaking that narrative is huge in showing that, like the productivity numbers, and showing actually you would be paid, $10,000 per family more per year if you were paid what you were actually contributing. Right. Part of that great squeeze. I think that's the narrative that really resonates with everyone. If you start talking about the squeeze, people know exactly what you're talking about, even if they're not familiar with statistics.
Okay, so the squeeze.
The squeeze.
The squeeze.
And I think one thing that I've heard coming from folks as well is this idea of opportunity. That one of the popular pushbacks is that in the U.S., you work hard, you get ahead. I think one of the messages from Occupy New Hampshire and the Occupy movement that hasn't been picked up so much is this idea that we don't all have the same opportunities. You said you can't go to the doctor when you need to. And there are people that can do that. And in many cases, it's just a matter